She stole my success, destroyed my name, and thought I'd stay quiet. But what she didn't know was, she handed me the perfect weapon for revenge. I spent 2 years of my life saving a company from the brink of bankruptcy, earning my boss a multi-million-dollar contract and glory on a magazine cover. My reward? A cold refusal for a raise. But that wasn't the worst part. When I decided to find a new path, she did the unthinkable. She called the CEO I deeply respected and fabricated a story that I was an incompetent, unprofessional employee who had just been fired. She wanted to destroy my reputation, to bury my career forever. But she didn't know that venomous phone call wasn't the end for me. It was the silver bullet that ended her own career. This is a story of justice, of integrity, and of the sweetest revenge of my career. My name is Caleb Reed, and I'm 30 years old. If you ask anyone in Chicago's financial circles about Sterling Advisory Group, they'll tell you about prestige, expensive suits, and skyscrapers. But if you ask me, I'll tell you about the silence. A chilling silence, broken only by the rhythmic clatter of keyboards and the stifled sighs of talented people slowly losing themselves. For 4 years, I was a part of that silence. As a financial consultant, my job sounded glamorous, reviving dying companies, and I was good at it. I had a unique ability to see glimmers of hope in the bleakest of balance sheets. But at Sterling, hope was a luxury. Everything began and ended with Oak Ridge Manufacturing. When I first received the Oak Ridge file, it was a mess. A 100-year-old manufacturing company, a Chicago icon, was slowly sinking under massive debt and a rudderless leadership team. My boss, Victoria Blackwood, had already marked it as a simple asset liquidation project. Sell off everything possible and collect a quick consulting fee. "Don't waste your time, Caleb," she said in our first meeting, her tone as sharp as a scalpel. "They're already dead. They just don't know it yet." Victoria Blackwood, age 50, was the embodiment of everything glamorous and hollow at Sterling. She wore designer labels, spoke in quotes from the Harvard Business Review, and had a collection of meticulously calculated smiles for every occasion. But beneath that polished exterior was a strategic void and a pathological thirst for glory. She didn't build, she harvested. But I saw what Victoria didn't. I saw dedicated workers, quality products, and a brand that still smoldered in the hearts of consumers. I spent 3 sleepless weeks analyzing every number, interviewing every department head, and then I found it. A path forward. A bold, risky restructuring plan that had the potential to change everything. I'll never forget that fateful presentation. I stood before the entire Oak Ridge board, including their venerable CEO, Charles Thompson, a man in his 70s with tired eyes that still held a spark of wisdom. Victoria sat in the front row, her gaze signaling me to present her liquidation plan. But I didn't. "Mr. Thompson," I began, my heart pounding. "The official plan from Sterling is to recommend liquidation, but I'm here today to present a different plan. My plan." The room fell silent. I could feel Victoria's searing glare on my back. But I pressed on, laying out the strategy of cutting unprofitable business lines, focusing on the core product, and launching a daring digital marketing campaign. When I finished, Charles Thompson stared at me for a long moment. "Young man," he said slowly, "this is the biggest gamble of my life. But in your eyes, I see something I haven't seen in any other consultant. I see belief. We'll follow you." For the next 2 years, Oak Ridge was my life. I missed vacations, family gatherings, and date nights. I lived on coffee and Excel spreadsheets. I navigated tense meetings with banks, union strikes, and long, anxious nights alongside Charles Thompson. And we succeeded. Oak Ridge didn't just survive, it thrived. Profits returned. The stock price soared. They became the comeback story of the Chicago business world. And then one morning, I saw it. At a newsstand, the cover of Chicago Business Weekly hit me like a physical blow. A perfect portrait of Victoria Blackwood, arms crossed, wearing a triumphant smile. The headline, "Strategic Genius Victoria Blackwood and the Miraculous Rescue of Oak Ridge Manufacturing." My stomach clenched. I bought a copy, flipping through the crisp, new-smelling pages. The 6-page article praised Victoria's strategic vision and decisive leadership. My name. It was in a tiny photo caption on the last page. Victoria Blackwood, with a member of her support team, Caleb Reed. Support team. 2 years of my life, summarized in 3 words. That day, Victoria even placed a copy of the magazine on my desk. "A nice souvenir for you, Caleb," she said, her smile dripping with condescension. That's when I decided I had to speak up. I walked into her office and placed the magazine on her desk. "Victoria, we need to talk about compensation and recognition," I said directly. She sighed, a dramatic sigh as if I were bothering her with a trivial matter. "Caleb, I thought we were clear on this. The budget is very tight this year." "Tight?" I almost laughed. The Oak Ridge project brought Sterling a fee 3 times larger than projected. I've increased the department's revenue by 200% in 2 years. I'm being paid 30% below the market rate. And you, Victoria, are taking all the credit for my work. She leaned back in her chair, steepling her fingers. You need to learn to see the bigger picture, Caleb. My personal brand is an asset to Sterling. When my name is elevated, the firm's reputation grows. That benefits everyone, including you. Consider it an intangible reward. An intangible reward. I felt a cold anger rising within me. Her audacity was breathtaking. I knew right then there was nothing left to say. My 4 years at Sterling were over. That night, I did what I should have done months ago. I called Sarah Jenkins, my friend and former colleague. Sarah had left Sterling a year ago for Innovate Strategy Partners. Hell and heaven were the words she used to describe the change. You have to come here, Caleb. Sarah's voice buzzed with enthusiasm. Here, ideas are respected, not stolen. Marcus Thorne, our CEO, is a real listener. We're building a corporate restructuring team. You would be the perfect fit. Marcus Thorne. I'd heard the name. A rising star who believed that company culture and fair treatment of employees were the path to sustainable profit, not a cost to be cut. A philosophy that was the polar opposite of Victoria's. A week later, I was sitting in a discreet coffee shop downtown, across from Marcus Thorne. He wore a simple sweater and looked more like a university professor than a CEO. There was no pretense, no self-importance. He looked me straight in the eye and asked a question Victoria had never asked. What are you proudest of in your career? And I told him. I told him about Oak Ridge, about Charles Thompson's trust, about the people I met. I spoke of my passion for finding life in the ashes. Marcus listened, nodding, and when I finished, he said, "That's not just a job, it's a calling. We don't have support team members at Innovate, Caleb. We have partners. We want you to lead our restructuring consulting division. As director, with a 40% salary increase, a transparent bonus structure, and equity in the company." I could barely breathe. In 1 hour, Marcus had offered me the respect and opportunity that Victoria had denied me for 4 years. I spent the entire weekend wrestling with my decision. A part of me was still haunted by old-fashioned lessons about loyalty. But on Sunday night, as I looked at the magazine cover with Victoria's smiling face, I knew my loyalty had been misplaced. On Monday morning, I walked into Victoria's office, resignation letter in hand. I had prepared a professional speech about transitioning my work, but I never got the chance to deliver it. When Victoria read the words, "Innovate Strategy Partners," her face contorted in a mask of fury. The calculated smile vanished, replaced by a raw, naked malice. "So you're planning to take our secrets to a competitor?" she snarled. "I'm a professional. I would never violate my confidentiality agreement," I replied, my voice steady. "Professional?" she scoffed, a chilling laugh escaping her lips. "Let me show you what unprofessional looks like." And then she did something I could never have imagined. Right in front of me, she picked up her phone and dialed with frightening speed. "Charles Thompson's office, Oak Ridge Manufacturing," she commanded to her assistant. A moment later, her voice shifted, becoming sickeningly sweet. "Charles, my dear, Victoria Blackwood. I'm so sorry to be calling with bad news. Due to some serious performance issues and a lack of professionalism, we've been forced to terminate Caleb Reed's contract, effective immediately." I stood there, frozen. The blood turned to ice in my veins. She was destroying me. Not just my job, but my reputation, the very relationship I had built with my own sweat and tears. "Oh, I understand your concern," she continued, her eyes locked on mine, full of challenge. "But rest assured, I will personally oversee your account. We will be sending a much more suitable replacement." When she hung up, her face was triumphant. "Done," she said. "Security will escort you out. You have 15 minutes. Don't touch anything that belongs to the company." The walk out of the Sterling office was the longest, most humiliating walk of my life. 2 large security guards flanked me. My colleagues, people I had worked with for years, stared intently at their keyboards, pretending I didn't exist. My access card made a dry, final beep of denial at the turnstile. I had been erased. Sitting in my car, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just felt a cold emptiness, followed by a simmering rage. Victoria hadn't just fired me. She had tried to bury me alive. The first thing I did when I got home was call Marcus. I recounted the entire story, my voice trembling with anger. The line was silent for a long moment. Then Marcus spoke, his voice firm. "Caleb, that is unconscionable. It shows her true character. Don't you worry about a thing. We have a legal team, and more importantly, we have you. Welcome to Innovate. Let's start tomorrow." The next day, I walked into Innovate. The atmosphere was electric. Energy, laughter, collaboration. It was like breathing fresh air after years of being trapped in a stuffy basement. On Marcus's advice, I wrote a short, professional email to Charles Thompson. I didn't make excuses or accusations. I simply expressed my regret for how things ended and thanked him for his trust. 20 minutes later, my personal cell phone rang. It was Charles Thompson. "Caleb," his voice boomed, stern and furious. "I just had the most despicable call of my career with Ms. Blackwood. I may not know finance like you do, but I've been alive long enough to recognize lies and venom. Does she think I'm an old fool? The person who saved my company was you, not her." A massive weight lifted off my shoulders. "Thank you, Charles. You have no idea what that means to me." "So, what's next for you?" he asked. I told him about Innovate and Marcus Thorne. "Innovate Strategy Partners," he mused. "I've heard of them. A new breeze. Our contract with Sterling is up for renewal next month. I think the Oak Ridge board needs to hear what you and your new firm have to offer. Prepare a presentation, Caleb. Show us the future." That was the spark I needed. For the next 3 weeks, the entire Innovate team worked with me. There was no competition, no hoarding of information. Together, we built a comprehensive growth strategy for Oak Ridge, one based on innovation and technology that Sterling could never touch. That presentation was the highlight of my career. I stood before the Oak Ridge board, but this time, I wasn't alone. I had a talented team and a CEO who believed in me completely, standing right behind me. We weren't just selling a service, we were selling a vision. At the end of the meeting, Oak Ridge signed a long-term strategic consulting contract with Innovate, worth $5 million annually. But the story wasn't over. A week later, Charles Thompson did something more powerful than just signing a contract. He announced the decision in an official press release sent to all major business news outlets. And in it, there was a paragraph that sealed Victoria Blackwood's fate. After careful consideration, Oak Ridge Manufacturing has decided to terminate its partnership with Sterling Advisory Group. We believe that business partnerships must be built on a foundation of transparency, integrity, and professional ethics. Recent actions from Sterling's senior leadership have revealed an irreconcilable difference in business philosophy, compelling us to seek a new partner more aligned with our values. A devastating blow. Public, direct, undeniable. The scandal erupted. The Chicago Business Weekly now had to run an article with the headline, "The Fall of a Titan. Sterling Advisory Group loses iconic client amidst ethics allegations." The domino effect was inevitable. Other clients, fearing association with a tainted firm, began to withdraw. 3 months later, I read the news. Sterling Advisory Group, under pressure from the board and shareholders, announced a leadership restructuring. Victoria Blackwood had been forced into early retirement. I didn't celebrate. I just sat in my new office looking out at the glittering Chicago skyline and felt a sense of peace. Victoria had tried to extinguish my flame, but in the end, she was consumed by the fire she started. Today, as a director and partner at Innovate, I always tell young consultants one thing: build your career on the bricks of integrity. Because a reputation is like a skyscraper. It takes years to build, but with a faulty foundation, it can collapse overnight. And that was the most expensive lesson Victoria Blackwood ever inadvertently taught me.